Lowen is the founder of The Art of Being, and he holds self-development and self-knowledge workshops. Hello, Alan. Welcome to Balance at Czech Public Radio, Radio Wave.
Hi, it's really a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming. Today I would like to discuss with you the matter of death. And the first thing that pops into my mind is, why do we, as a people, why do we fear death?
I think the reason that there is such a cultural fear of death is because so much of our culture is geared towards having, keeping, holding on. We're a consumer society, and consuming means we're always wanting to get and to get more. And we don't notice that what happens in the process of being so involved in getting is that we become not so easy about letting go of things. And the ultimate let go in life is our own death. I think it's simply normal that people are afraid of death because they don't learn in the society they live in to be easy about letting go. And in a way, it's inevitable that we grow up with a certain amount of fear around letting go. We spend the first 9 months of our existence inside the body of woman. And in those 9 months, we're given everything we need. We are totally nurtured. And then one apocalyptic day, we are suddenly thrown out of our inner paradise. And that is the first experience of being, in a way, scared out of the home that we are so happy to be in, mostly. You know, if the mother is going through issues of her own, of course the happiness is modified. But there comes a day when we are no longer one with the universe that we've spent 9 months in. The cord is cut, the umbilical cord is cut. The mother becomes the other, and we are dependent on her for our very life. And as we go through those first days and weeks and months and years of life, the most important thing for us is our connection with our mother and how much trust we have in being with her and the times when we are on our own. And it's almost inevitable that there will be times when she's not there and we experience that deep primal fear of being abandoned. And if you go down to the depths of the fear of being abandoned, it's the fear of death. It's the fear of there's nobody to look after me. My life is in danger. And so abandonment is associated deep down in our psyches with the fear of death. It makes a tremendous difference to us how loved and nurtured we are growing up, and how much we're given a sense of trust that whether somebody is there or not, we're okay. And to the degree that that trust is compromised, that we have fears, the ultimate fear is going to be the fear of death. And then as we grow up, we begin to experience happenings which are only okay if we can trust letting go. For example, a pet dies, and for a child, that is usually a pretty devastating experience. It's more or less devastating depending on the child's degree of trust in being able to let go. The more fear we have growing up, the more difficult letting go is. And because we live in this consumer society, the media, the cultural propaganda is feeding us that we'll be okay if we have things, if we hold on, if we keep on buying. The economy only works if we keep on spending and buying. And so there's this tremendous persuasion for us to keep on being busy getting.
What is death according to you? Is it an end? Is it transition? Is it something completely else?
To me, death is mystery. You know, I spent years with a spiritual master, and he was a man who was pretty free of dogma. And with him, I learned to free myself from spiritual beliefs, because beliefs for me are externally imposed. They're imposed by society, by parents, by teachers, by religious authorities. And what I learned in my own personal growth, if you like, was that whatever belief I have is getting in the way of my here-now experience of what really is. And when I open to what really is, and when I'm really in the present, I am aware that as well as this very tangible present, this sitting here chatting with you, the walls and the air and the sunshine outside, I'm also aware that there is something beyond me, beyond my life, and I call it the mystery because that's simply what it is. If you ask me what death is, in the end all I can say is, I don't know, and I love that it is a mystery, that to me is synonymous with eternity, with infinity. Many years ago, and I guess it was really the most important first episode in my own personal growth, I had an experience on a beach in California, 14 days into a workshop program that I had gone to. I fell asleep on the beach, and suddenly I woke up, and I woke up in a way that I had never woken up in my life, in which I felt totally one with all that is happening. It only lasted about 30 seconds, and that 30 seconds has stayed with me through my whole life, because what it gave me was an awareness of how the infinite and the present are interwoven, and the one is present in the other. And this is what I mean by the mystery. So for me, I guess the most ordinary, everyday way I could say it is that it is my departure from this physical, feeling, heartful, conscious life that I am in, into infinite mystery. And the nature of that infinite mystery, I am happy to allow to remain a mystery. I don't want to impose any spiritual beliefs on it at all, because I love that there is this mystery that I had an experience of for 30 seconds that was like eternity.
You explained how holding on to things, it empowers the fear of death. It makes it bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And also you described how you lived some ecstasy or some bliss in California. Do you think that these things are available for all of people in the world? And how to do that? How to learn how to not hold on to things, and how to be in touch with oneness?
Yes. What I have lived for 40 years is guiding people in how to turn that fear of letting go into a graceful acceptance of letting go when life asks us to let go. There are times in life when something happens and we don't know whether it is asking us to let go or to fight for what we wish to hold on to. And there are times when it's clear that we need to let go. In relationships, for example, if your beloved, for whatever reason, leaves you, whether it's through death or falling in love with someone else or just feeling like it's time to say goodbye, can you let go? Can you be good enough in yourself to be able to say goodbye, go through your grief, and then be happy again? And what I've seen and what I've worked with are many, many people who, in the face of a happening in life that asks them to let go, are unable to do so. They hold on to the pain, they hold on to the suffering, they hold on sometimes to the complaining and blaming the other. Sometimes if it's the end of a relationship and the other is leaving, instead of gracefully letting go, they seek to hold on by requiring the other one, or trying to require the other one to keep having a conversation with them. Let's talk about it, let's talk about it, let's talk about it. It's okay for a few days, even for a few weeks. When it goes on for a few months, when it goes on for years, then it's clear that what is really going on is let's talk about it is a way of having a negative relationship rather than a positive relationship. And the important thing about that is the relationship is still here. I can keep holding on to you. If I can't hold on to you in a positive way, at least I can hold on to you in a negative way, because the thing that I'm really afraid of is you no longer being there. And this brings me to the state that is so characteristic of people who don't know how to let go. And that is a state of kind of existential loneliness. When people can't let go, when they have to hold on, it's because their psyche will feel so lonely if they let go that that desperate state, which again leads deep down to the fear of death, to the fear of not being, causes them to want to hold on. And the thing about loneliness is that when you're lonely, you are actually cut off from yourself. People who are lonely think they're cut off from other people. And actually what's happening is that they're cut off from all the feelings that they don't want anything to do with. When it comes to learning how to let go, learning how to be okay about death, learning how to be able to gracefully say goodbye when life asks that of you, what is required is to make friends with all the feelings that you don't want anything to do with, because those are the feelings that cause you to feel lonely, panicked, trying to hold on, desperate, hopeless, and so on. And when you find a way that you can go in and you can say hello to your loneliness, you can say hello to your desperation, you can say hello to your inner hunger, what happens then is you're in the process of making friends with those feelings. So what I do is I create ways that people can befriend what they're not in friendship with in themselves. If you imagine yourself as a house that has many rooms in it, whatever you don't want anything to do with, as you grow up, becomes a closed-off room. And the door has a sign on it that says, no entry, do not disturb, do not enter. These rooms contain things like sadness, joy, playfulness. If your parents brought you up constantly saying, behave yourself, control yourself, don't do that, that's not allowed, then playfulness becomes a room you're not supposed to go in, and you shut down your playfulness. If you're a boy who is taught you're not supposed to cry, then sadness is shut behind a door that says no entry, you don't go here, you don't cry. It can be just your joyousness. You're not supposed to be too happy. It can be your trust. You learn to be always on guard and not trust because you were taught life is dangerous. You mustn't trust. Be on guard. So these become places in you that you don't have access to. And what that means is you can never be whole. You can never be all that you are. You can only ever be parts of yourself and on guard to make sure you don't go into the room of your sadness, the room of your playfulness, the room of your sexual libido, if you were brought up to feel shame around your sexuality. Whatever it is, you can't wander through your own house and enjoy the whole place. And what that means is you are cut off. And you can feel as though you're cut off from other people and you're cut off from life. This is the essence of loneliness. And so the way that you transform your experience of being lonely is through daring to open the doors in these rooms and to go in and to make friends with your sadness, with your fears, your pains, your old wounds, whatever it is. So what I do is to give people ways that they can make friends with what they're afraid of. Now, if you open all the doors in your being and you realize that you can allow all these feelings and all these experiences because they belong to you, then your loneliness changes into aloneness. And the loneliness where you're cut off from yourself becomes an aloneness. You know, the very word, I don't know if it's the same in Czech, but in English, all oneness. You're all one with all that you are. You like being you, and it doesn't matter if sometimes sad things happen. You're okay with your sadness. You can shed your tears when you need to. You can make love with your beloved ecstatically because you've transformed what you were afraid of into something that you're friendly with.
If you manage to do that, to explore the house and accept everything which is behind all the doors, I mean, for example, fear, anger, sadness, as you said, it's part of you or me, but you can't always act freely to everything that's happening to you. I don't want to be angry on some people at some times. I don't want to be angry at work, even if I feel anger. So where's my freedom of experiencing life and the others and the society?
The freedom that you have is the freedom of being friendly with everything going on in you. It doesn't mean that you are expressing it all the time. You also have freedom of choice. You can breathe with your anger, you can feel your anger, and you recognize that now is not an appropriate time for me to express my anger. There are times when it's not appropriate to express your libido. There are times when it's not appropriate to shed your tears. And what you have is choice. The fact is that whatever is happening, you are in touch with it. And this is what it means to be whole.
Can you now please talk about the universal experience, about your workshop?
Yeah, the universal experience, the subtitle is An Intimate Encounter with Your Own Death. And it's a 3-day adventure. I can't go into the details of it because what makes it so powerful for people is the fact that every step is a surprise. And the nature of the journey is it really does take you into an ever-deepening encounter with all that you carry in you about your own death. The essence of it is what I was talking about earlier, the befriending of everything that you're not easy with. And the journey is learning how to let go. The ultimate let go being your own death. And learning how to be intimately okay with your own death is not simply about being able to die peacefully with a sense even of surrendered excitement to the mystery. It is just as essentially a way to learn how to live your life happily, because in that befriending you are learning how to let go when life asks that of you, and not be compelled to struggle to hold on desperately and to have to manipulate and try to control, when your happiness resides in being able to let go. One of the things that people are really addicted to in our culture is control. If I can control circumstances, if I can control people, if I can control what is happening in my day, this is a way of holding on. It's like I keep the status quo the way I want it to be. Learning how to relinquish the control. It's the same as learning how to surrender when life is asking you to let go.
Do you think we should discuss death at families, in schools and with friends?
Yes. I think one of the sad things about 21st century life, and it's been true for a long time now, is the cultural tendency to sweep death under the carpet. What makes this worse is the fact that the way death is portrayed in so much of the media has a kind of trivializing effect, as though death doesn't matter. So computer games, people get mown down, by the thousands, and it doesn't matter because it's just a game. If you look at what is happening, this trivializing of death goes hand in hand with the fear of the real thing. It's like, well, if it doesn't matter, I don't have to be afraid of it. Whereas if I really recognize death as the most significant thing that is going to happen to me after my birth, then what it does is to inculcate in me a sense of the necessity of having an intimate relationship with it. Not that I've got to be busy with it day after day, but I can accept my mortality. How can we learn this? How can we best learn this? At home, with our parents, with our family, by learning from the very beginning to actually honour and respect death, allowing my child, for example, to touch their pet who has died, and to give them a sense that there is this mystery woven into life. And then as we grow up, we're more able to recognise that, yes, death really is a part of life and inseparable from life. So in our families, when the grandparents die, there is a real honouring, time taken to allow the grieving, to allow the befriending of the feelings that go with the death. All this is part of my workshop, the Universal Experience, because what didn't happen in our families, in our upbringing, can still happen. We can still reconcile with death as something to be recognized, respected, honoured. And it once was. If you look at traditional cultures throughout the world, there's no sweeping of death under the carpet. The sadness and the honouring become part of a kind of celebration in the really spiritual sense of a celebration.
You said that we should not overanalyze the death and think about it constantly, but isn't it good to remind ourselves maybe once a day that, yeah, I'm going to die, and what does it mean? What does it mean for me now, or for this day, or for this week?
Yes, and that is, for me, very different from analysing. I am almost 76 years old. I think since I turned 70 or thereabouts, but I don't think it was a certain day, I think it was a gradual progression, I live with the recognition that my life could end any moment. But when I look back, I've had this, I think ever since that day on the beach, certainly, and actually, no, even before that, I can remember in my teens having a vivid awareness of death, but much more fear of it then. In these years, these decades, I do have I think a daily sense of the mystery. And for me, there are times when I imagine my death, and it's not with any sense of analysis. It's just an intimate relating with the mystery of it. When I am really into enjoying something special that is happening in my life, my sense of the mystery to which this belongs, it's simply woven into it, so that in my way of being present, I have a sense that I belong to eternity, and that this dance is to be danced now, because this is the gift that's being given me, the gift of my life, and I don't know when I disappear into the mystery. I don't know when this dance comes to an end. I love Leonard Cohen's song, Dance Me to the End of Love. In it I hear, dance me to the end of life. And Leonard Cohen, for me, was a man who had a really beautiful relationship with life and the mystery of death. And I certainly love the moments when life whispers to me, hey, death is part of this. It can be a sunset. It can be a moment in the darkness of night. It can be there in a magical happening in the day, that there is a sense of the mystery, eternity, life and death woven together. So I don't need to analyze it at all. I think it's really valuable for people to make friends with this fact, to say hello to it on a daily basis. for a few seconds. It makes a difference.
I would like to go back for a while to holding onto things, and I guess also onto people and experiences. Maybe don't you think that some people, that they, as a defense, rather than being hurt by life, they just don't go into relationships and don't have experiences and just, live in a fear of being hurt all their life?
Yeah, I think this is sadly normal. I think there are many, many people who choose to stay in what I call the comfort zone. When I'm teasing about it in my workshops, I call it dead comfortable rather than alive uncomfortable. It's very sad when we choose to spend our lives being dead comfortable, because the deadness is the deadness to our own richness. It's like we don't experience the colourfulness of our tears, our playfulness, our sexuality, our capacity to let go of control, to let go of whatever, because, as you say, we've learned to hunker down in the fear. You can be dead scared or you can be alive scared. And it's the difference that makes the difference. If you're dead scared, then you use not having to feel things as a way to stay comfortable. And what it costs you is ever being fully present in the richness of your here-now experience. It means you can never be all here, all present. When people live like that, they find all sorts of ways to compensate for being dead comfortable. Alcohol, TV, opioids, and whatever else can make the deadness comfortable. Getting free of that happens through daring to allow yourself the uncomfortableness that you experience when you say hello to the fear. If you take one of these rooms, for example, say the room that you've shut your sadness away in and you don't want anything to do with it. The first time you open that door, the first thing you're going to feel is afraid, because you've learned to be afraid of your sadness. Now, you either shut the door so that you don't have to feel afraid, you stay in your dead comfortableness, or you dare to feel afraid. And to dare to feel afraid it's so simple, really. It's like breathing into the fear, being willing to tremble, being willing to be alive in it, to allow the fear to turn into excitement. And then, because it's your sadness that you've been afraid of, in your excitement, you begin to allow the sadness. And so you go into a state of excited tearfulness, excited sadness. Gradually, as you make friends with the sadness itself, the excitement calms down because you're no longer afraid. Fear and excitement are the same energy. Fear is excitement standing on its head, really. And when you turn it over and you allow the fear to become excitement, then you can start saying hello to what it is you've been afraid of. And the amazing thing about that is that not only does it become easy for you to allow your sadness, but in your sadness that you wanted nothing to do with, you find all sorts of magical resources for enriching your life. The capacity, for example, to empathize with other people, to allow them their sensitivity, their tenderness, their vulnerability, as you can allow yourself your own. And what that gives you is an incredible sense of understanding of people, and that enriches your life in all kinds of ways and makes you a much more creative participant in life and much more valuable for not only yourself but for everybody else too.
Alan, thank you very much for visit and for your words. Thank you. Goodbye.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
This podcast is of Alan Lowen talking in one of his Art of Being workshops. You will find full information about the Art of Being at artofbeing.com.